last year.
Oh, it's not a real band. It's
time.
just a friends. I have. We have a suburban, and then I go.
Okay.
Yeah, I've never.
But they've got a nice warm look too.
And organized.
Yeah, they have what 35 or 40 bands
Right?
rent each year, so I drive one of them. Yeah.
Well, and then they also have the ones where you drive up and follow the bicyclists. That would scare me to
Just,
Clock's not quite.
they're just aesthetically soft. That's what we got.
Yeah, it's just a handful of friends that
Let's get a see how
torture themselves every year. I take my dog.
We sure can.
She loves it.
Make sure Lisa is
Wrap
ready.
that gets them all that time.
Drives up the mountain.
You could hit that and get them
You ready,
tension.
Lisa? Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Woodland Park Planning Commission regular meeting for June 14th, 2012. The time is 6:59. Where's feedback?
Seem to be silent.
Can we get a roll call?
Yes, thank you. Stackhouse, Everett,
Here.
Larson, Mattingly,
Here.
Rollinger, Schrader,
Here.
Watson,
Here.
and DeVoe.
Here.
Madam Chair, we do have a quorum this evening with 5 members present.
Thank you. Can you all join me in the pledge, please? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item on the agenda is the approval of the meeting minutes from May 24th. Does anybody have any questions, comments, changes? Approved by acclamation.
You need a motion to approve that.
Oh, do it.
It just says approve. Would you ever do that?
We usually just.
If there's no discussion, we usually just do it.
Okay.
by
Just wanted
acclamation.
all right.
Okay. We have one request this evening. It's case ZON 12-001, Gilliam Thunderhead LLC. Request for approval of a zoning request to designate a 3.736 acre tract of land suburban residential district with a physical address of 1100 Rampart Range Road, Woodland Park, Colorado, as requested by the owners Frederick and Karen Gilliam.
Thank you. I have a brief PowerPoint to introduce you to the project for the request on zoning, and Scott will get the lights for us. And we'll begin with, first of all, I wanted to share with you that this is an annexation and zoning process that is being conducted concurrently. It is only the zoning piece that the Planning Commission has the review of and makes a recommendation to City Council. But thus far, City Council began the process on May 3rd with a resolution accepting the annexation request for substantial compliance, which began the notification process. And there were at least 30 days prior to the first public hearing, which occurred on June 1st. There were a series of notices in the newspaper. Staff and the applicant have worked on a draft annexation agreement that lays out the conditions and expectations of the annexation agreement. In that agreement, they have agreed that suburban residential zoning is appropriate for this site. We've also had the first public hearing with which the annexation ordinance was on first reading, as well as a resolution for finding of fact. Tonight is the area that's highlighted in blue. This is your role as a recommendation for the zoning request for suburban residential. And then there are 2 more steps left. On June 27th, There will be the final hearing on the annexation ordinance with a review of the annexation agreement by City Council. And then lastly is the City Council public hearing on the zoning request. So that's the number of steps that take place with an annexation. This property is located at 1100 Rampart Range Road. I'm sure you're very familiar. It is formerly known as the Thunderhead Inn. It functioned, it's a very historic site, and functioned as a local bar for a number of years and residents. The bar closed several years ago when ownership or the owners of the business decided to close, and there were also issues with the septic system that was on site. The owners have made arrangements to tie into the city's septic system so that it can be served out the back of the lot here through the Wilderness subdivision with a sewer system. The owners, the Gilliams, intend to serve themselves with one dwelling unit on this site. They're not sure whether they're going to construct a separate unit or be able to repair the existing building, the log building, to be able to be habitable. They're still in the fact-finding research area of knowing whether they can make that existing cabin habitable at this point, or whether they would need to add another structure to the site. There are a couple of other outbuildings on the site, a barn, another small cabin. This building that was just to the north of the cabin has been removed. That was a small concrete block. And the owners have done a fabulous job of cleaning up the site and cleaning up the buildings. They are intending to restore this historic building. As shown by the zoning map, the Thunderhead is what we call the hole in the donut in terms of it is totally surrounded by city property, and it is all residential. To the north and to the west is the West Wilderness subdivision that is zoned urban residential at a density of 2 units per acre. The area across Rampart Range Road to the east, where we have a couple of churches that are located, and then there are a couple of residents on the north end, but that's zoned suburban residential at 1 dwelling unit per acre density. And then to the south is the Westwood townhomes, and those townhomes are zoned urban multifamily urban at 9 to 20 units per acre. So the suburban residential zoning for the 3.7 acre tract will fit nicely into the surrounding properties and is very compatible with that. Here's an aerial of the subject property, which you can see that how it fits into the neighborhood and fills that donut hole. It provides for a logical pattern of a land development to this site. It is compatible with the comprehensive plan, which the map shows this as rural residential in Teller County, and a low density zoning for the city is compatible with that rural residential classification. It provides for opportunities for growth and development while preserving the community and the environmental quality. The city does have the water resources to be able to serve what could ultimately be built out for a maximum of 3 units. That's a pretty small density, and it does fill the boundaries of the city. And the city has the capacity to be able to provide wastewater treatment. Once the first home ties in, should it be subdivided with 2 more homes, then that capacity is also provided for. It is pedestrian friendly, which is part of what the definition for suburban residential refers to, because there is an existing network of sidewalks along Rampart Range Road that ties up to Kelly's and also goes southward toward town and the schools. This zoning change will not burden other city services such as public safety, public works, parks and recreation, municipal court, planning, administration, and the finance department. So with that, the staff recommends or supports the request for a zoning of suburban residential for the 3.7 acre tract. And Doug and Karen Gilliam are here this evening if you have any questions of them.
I have a question of staff. Is that appropriate at this time?
Yes.
There is an existing structure that I think will be preserved, and since this site will hold a maximum of 3 residences, should they choose not to use that as a residence, how does that impact this decision?
That's a good question. If they decide not to use it as a residence, we will consider it an accessory structure, and a primary residential structure will be built in its proximity, and it will be preserved as an accessory structure.
Thank you.
Will that be an addition? Will there still be able to be built 3 additional structures there in addition to this one?
Should they decide to subdivide, they will have a maximum number of 3 habitable units.
Habitable, so this
Yes.
could be still exist as a non-habitable.
Correct. Yes, as an accessory structure, non-habitable.
Does the accessory structure square footage weigh into the allotment for what the habitable structure can be on that lot?
We don't have any.
Coverage?
We don't have any coverage limits or minimum square footage for accessory structures. It's defined more as use of a primary structure versus an accessory structure. Yeah. And I might mention that in the suburban residential zone, even though the gross density is 1 unit per gross acre, you can have a lot that is as small as 15,000 square feet, or about 1/3 of an acre, and then the other lots could be larger, or you could dedicate open space. So there's some flexibility on the size and the arrangement of those lots.
Is the existing structure on an historical register of any kind?
It is not on any landmark or historical structure registry. It's historic by its nature and character and the length of its existence.
Are there any questions of the applicant?
That was a great rock and roll place. Many of us councilmen were there the final night when it closed.
Oh.
The writers were playing, so if you ever want to come back to suburban commercial, I'm on board. That was a great old place.
No public comment, I assume.
Seeing no public.
Are there any final questions? Like to make a motion?
I I make a motion that we approve the request as stated on the slide without me reading the whole thing.
I'll second that.
Ready for roll call? Everett,
Yes.
Mattingly,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
and DeVoe.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously, and this will move forward to the city council agendas.
Good luck. Enjoy.
That closes our public hearing for the evening, and we are now moving on to a work session, and that is off the record.
And the work session, we will be discussing priorities out of the comprehensive plan and possible amendments to the City of Woodland Park zoning regulations.
I don't, well, how long
Do I have to close this?
That's good.
It's a new power for me.
Yeah, we're
Yes,
moving now.
we're moving.